Hey 12, it's the Seahawks Squad, sponsored by Gametime. Everything Seattle Seahawks every week, breaking down all the big hits and game-changing plays from the Emerald City, the way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. Get loud, 12s. The Seahawks Squad Show starts now.
All right, welcome to your inaugural post-game episode of the Seahawks Squad Show. My name's Anderson Hirst. I got Chris Crawford, Rob Rang, and Robert Turbin with me today. We are breaking down the first preseason game of your Seattle Seahawks. It ends in a, wait for it, a tie. Of course it does. Because Pete Carroll would not have it any other way. Lots to break down. What are the impressions of kind of the, I don't want to say the ones, but the upper in the depth chart guys earlier in the game, and then we saw kind of more Jalen Milroe and some other guys later in the game. I'm just going to leave it open, and you guys can take this whichever direction you want. I'm just going to, whatever stood out to you the most, pick one thing. Rob Rang, we'll start with you. What was the biggest takeaway for you in this first preseason game for the Seattle Seahawks?
Well, I appreciate it, Anders. I think that first off, I think that we have to just kind of talk about the fact that Seattle basically owned the line of scrimmage in the first half. Obviously, the game wound up being a tie, as you said, 23-23. I think that Mike McDonald is going to be frustrated that his team basically was outscored 20-7 in the second half. So there's going to be some concerns there. But I thought that they thoroughly dominated the first half of that football game, despite the fact that the Raiders came out with their starters. You saw Geno Smith. You saw Max Crosby. The Seahawks, of course, did not start a lot of their frontline players. And so to me, one of the most encouraging aspects, again, whether it be George Helani breaking off big runs, couple of 20-plus yard runs, whether it be Jacardia Wright looking like Robert Turbin out there at times. It was an impressive performance, I thought, from the Seahawks running the ball right down the Raiders' throat to start the football game.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Chris Crawford, what stood out to you?
I just really like the way they competed. And I know that's such a coach cliche, but I really like the way they completed to especially in that first half. The second half, there were some mistakes, but I think Rob hit the nail on the head. Just like the way they dominated the line of scrimmage, the way that they kind of manhandled at times in that area was awesome to see. It was great to see Ashton Genty not make an impact whatsoever. I hope I get to watch him make an impact for every game after this, because he was one of my favorite players to watch in college football. But the job that they did there, the job that I thought the middle of the defense, I thought played a really solid game. I thought that you saw good things from the quarterbacks. I thought you saw some sketchy things from the quarterbacks at times as well. But for a first game, for the first time that you're seeing these guys really compete, I thought it was a pretty darn solid effort.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Dare I say the Seahawks got the better Boise State running back? I'll leave it at that. Turbo, what was your big takeaway from today's game?
Yeah, it was offensively, it was the pace, really, to me. It was the fact that guys got in and out of the huddle, up to the line of scrimmage, ball snapped, and just kept the ball moving. You guys talked about dominating the line of scrimmage and everything like that, but I mean, how many times historically have we seen the offense just move in slow motion? It seems like sometimes, like, man, get to the line of scrimmage. Now we got to call timeout. Now we're in a delay of game, especially in the preseason when you're trying to get some of the wrinkles out, man. You didn't see a lot of that tonight, man. They were in the huddle. They were out of the huddle. They were at the line of scrimmage. They were making checks. They were getting their calls out, and the ball was snapped. And I think that plays a part into, why you saw dominance at the line of scrimmage, why you saw such a successful run game. And even on the defensive side of the football too, man, I mean, it's different because they don't have to get in and out of the huddle, but just the speed that they played with, the pace, getting to the football and, being in and out of their breaks, the DBs making plays on the football, man. So to me, what stuck out offensively was just the pace, man, getting in and out of the huddle.
Yeah, I think the execution of the offense, especially in that first half, was you couldn't say enough about it. I think the O-line, and kind of Rob put a stamp on it with the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball, but specifically the O-line. Am I wrong, Rob, in thinking that this looked a little bit different than in years past in terms of, especially in the preseason at this point in the year? I know we're jumping to conclusions after 60 minutes of football instantly, but from what you can tell, does this look like a different group than what we've had in years past?
I think it looks like a more athletic group. I think to Turbin's point, looks like a team that just is I don't want to say better coached, but it feels like better prepared at least for this opportunity. I think that the talent in terms of the athletic ability you have along the line of scrimmage, I think ties in better with the type of offense that's being asked. And we've talked about this before numerous times, just the level of experience of Seattle's offensive line coaches and play callers. I think that it was immediately evident with how quickly they were able to get to the line of scrimmage. And obviously Seattle has a little bit of advantage at the quarterback position. Drew Lock has more experience than Aiden O'Connell does, and so I think that helped. But at the same time, I still think, to your point, Anders, I just think that this is an athletic offensive line. I think that it speaks to Seattle's depth. Of course, you didn't have Charles Cross out there. You didn't have Oluwatimi out there.
Yep.
Abraham Lucas only played for a little bit of the game. So the fact that Seattle was able to be as effective as they were, they only allowed the one sack. Obviously, it was a crucial sack down the stretch.
Right.
But still, the fact that they were able to protect the passer as much as they were and be able to run the football as effectively as they were, again, I think that it bodes very well for the future.
Yeah, that's the big thing, I think, running the football, because you saw how much they were committed to that early on in this game. And I think you saw the balance is the best way to phrase it for me, because it's not like Drew Lock can't sling it. You saw that a couple times where if he gets the opportunity, especially in the play action, he's gonna sling it down the field. There's some good plays to Torrey Horton. But the big, I think, takeaway for me is how much they committed to running the football. And that starts with fullback, Turbo. So what did you see from Robbie Utes in his debut for the Seattle Seahawks?
He did a really good job. He didn't have any blocks that were like, snap. He didn't put anybody on their behind.
Right.
But he made the plays that he was supposed to make. He had a nice block on Max Crosby in the first quarter. He had a nice kick out block on one of the touchdowns. Helani down that left sideline where he dove into the end zone. That was sprung out by Robbie Utes, man. The thing that impressed me was he didn't have a lot of missed assignments. It felt like out there, he knew who he was responsible for, and he was able to get on his guy on a consistent basis, man. And that's really what you want to see. I was really, really pleased with Robbie Utes and how he performed. Can you guys hear my dog snoring in the background, by the way?
Not at all.
No? Okay,
good to know that he is having a good sound sleep, though.
Yes.
But Robbie Utes, man, really impressive tonight.
Yeah, another rookie, Chris Crawford. Torrey Horton, how did he look to you? I thought he made some great plays out there, and he just continues to be the kind of the rave of camp in terms of the rookie wide receivers.
I mean, I don't want to go too crazy in my victory lap here, but I have been talking about this guy a lot, and he looked great. He looked great. I thought it was awesome to see him so involved. I believe 7 targets tonight, which is awesome to see. Yeah. It shows that, they have some confidence in this guy, and he is a guy I think he's going to take a little bit of the top off the defense, but I think he's going to be a really nice player in the intermediate passing game as well. I was really impressed with what I saw from him today. I will be really curious to see what the game plan is going forward here for the preseason, because he kind of feels like, to me, a guy who's on that roster right now, right? In fact, pretty comfortably on that roster. So how much will he play in the second week or second game? How much will he play in that third game? I'll be really curious to see, but I was really impressed with what I saw from him on tonight.
Yeah, and then conversely, how much does MVS play? Because that's kind of the spot that they're going to be battling for. And normally a veteran who you sign in the offseason is not going to be playing a ton of preseason, but when a guy like this is showing out as much as he is, it's going to be interesting to see how they play that out. All right, so we did a lot of positives. We'll get to some negatives too. It wasn't all positive today. We'll talk about Jalen Milroe's performance. We'll kind of switch over to the defensive side of the ball, our big takeaways. But when we get back, I want to get, maybe we kind of did mostly positive things. I want to get one concerning thing. It doesn't have to be super oh my God, alarm bells are ringing. But when we get back, just think of one thing that maybe you want to see improved by game number 2. And then we'll get those on the way back from break. This episode is presented by Yahoo Fantasy. It's the best time of the year. NFL kickoff is almost here, and that means fantasy football season is back in full swing. And this year, Yahoo Fantasy is turning things up with a fantasy football experience like never before.
This year, me and the Seahawks Squad Show are playing on Yahoo Fantasy, and you should too, whether you're a first-timer or a veteran making your millionth league. It's the best. It's the best way to propose trades. It's the best place for waiver wire claims. It's the best place no matter what league you're playing in. Yahoo Fantasy Sports is where you have to play fantasy football.
To celebrate 28 years of fantasy football greatness, Yahoo Fantasy is dropping 28 big new features over 28 days throughout August. To kick it off, they just dropped Yahoo Fantasy Guillotine Leagues, a killer new way to play fantasy football on Yahoo, where the lowest scoring team gets eliminated each week until there's one team left standing. With the season around the corner, now's the time to get your league together and give this new mode a try. If you're into the classics, you can still play head-to-head, private leagues, join a public league. Stay tuned for more killer announcements and start playing Yahoo Fantasy Football now at yahoofantasy.com/LockedOnNFL. All right, let me get rid of that. We did a lot of positives in this show so far. I think mostly in that first half, there was a lot to like. Anything you guys have concerns about moving forward? Maybe something that wasn't there before where you're like, oh, I didn't realize that was going to be something I had to think about or was going to be concerned about. Chris, I'll start with you this time.
Ooh, that's a really good question. I would have to go with, I had my concerns about the linebacker play. I don't think the linebacker play was particularly good, especially in the second half there. Dylan Labe kind of had his way.
Yeah.
And I thought they were a little late to make adjustments and a little late reacting on some stuff there. Now, Dylan Labe is the type of guy who's just going to dominate in the preseason because he's so flippin' athletic that he is going to make plays. But I thought they were a little late in the reactionary times there. So that would probably be my number one, outside of maybe pass rush as well.
Sure.
Number one concern from what I saw from this one.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Turbo, what about you? What's something that you're concerned about heading into game number 2 against the Chiefs?
Yeah, this one is an interesting one because I'm interested with Rob is going to have to say, because I have two, but I'll stick with one. Let me know if you guys agree with this or not. I felt like our kicking game, like Myers, I don't know, man. I just feel like early in his career, it just felt automatic.
Yeah.
It has a little Hauschka feel to it.
Mm-hmm.
Like Hausch was Hausch money. And then all of a sudden it was just like we're veering left and we're veering right and we're just not. And I'm a little bit concerned at the kicking game, just a little. It may not be super alarming, but it just feels like it's been becoming a little inconsistent over the last 2 or 3 seasons. Yeah. Now, am I off base on that, or you guys kind of feel that as well?
Go ahead, Rob.
I was going to jump in there to your point, Turbo. I mean, it's PATs in particular have been a bugaboo for Jason Myers for a long time now. And I don't know why that is. I mean, obviously it's a much shorter kick than most of the field goals that he's attempted. He's got the longest, field goal in team history, and he's been a pretty clutch kicker for a long time here. But at the same time, obviously in a tie game, you would have loved to have had one extra point there. So I think that's a good point. I'll just kind of piggyback off of that. I just think that the lack of finish. As I mentioned before, it was 20-7 that the Raiders came back and outscored the Seahawks. And we all remember Pete Carroll, and he would often say, "Can you win a game in the first quarter? Can you win a game in the second quarter? You can win the game in the fourth quarter." And that's exactly what his Raiders did. And I thought that this was such a great opportunity for Seattle to make Lumen Field a place to be feared again. You knew that the Raider Nation fans were always going to come up and be in full throat. You knew that Pete Carroll was coming back. Geno Smith, Jamal Adams are all coming back, and it was going to be an emotional game for them. What an opportunity it was for the Seahawks to not only beat the Raiders, but as you mentioned, Anders, you get the Chiefs coming up next. I mean, that's going to be a significant step up in competition. I don't know that Patrick Mahomes is going to be playing, but still, the point is, you'd like to be starting the season 1-0 and feeling really good about Mike McDonald's second season in Seattle.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people, when they look at these preseason games, they almost dismiss the win and loss. Like you want to look for one thing specifically. Like if you're looking for your quarterback to look better, or if you have a running back competition, that's what you're looking for. But there are some things to where, and Pete Carroll was kind of the king of this, where it's a cultural thing, right? Teams that lose, they find ways to lose even if it's in a preseason game, and conversely, teams that win find ways to win even if it's in a small training camp situation, right? And the same thing built up in the preseason, then eventually to the regular season as well. So I don't want to say it's a complete like, oh my God, this team like just can't figure out ways to win, but that is something I totally agree with, where you have the game, you look like the most dominant team by far in the first half of the game at least, and then kind of second half, it's like, oh yeah, okay, we're good. We did exactly what we needed to do, and I think you could tell that on Mike McDonald's face. He was a little frustrated towards the end of that game. So I'm interested to see kind of what the response is of that. Chris, I already went to you. Turbo, what's your concern?
Yeah, I was gonna say, and if I may, just because I didn't know if Rob was gonna mention this or not, but and maybe this is not a negative thing,
sure,
but so we got to see a lot of Drew Lock tonight. We got to see a lot of Jalen Milroe.
Yeah,
we didn't see Sam Darnold, obviously. Doesn't feel like his job is in jeopardy at all. You know what I mean? And I don't know. Maybe that's a good thing.
Yeah.
We did sign him to a pretty decent contract at the end of the day, but it was just like, the backup quarterback spot, man. It has become more important, year after year after year because of injuries and lack of production and all of these things. And I think some of us thought at least, it would look competitive behind Sam Darnold. I don't know if I just wasn't all the way thrilled with either one of the guys tonight, Drew or Jalen. So that to me, it's just game one, but it's maybe a little concerning. I don't know.
I'm sorry, I totally skipped over you, Chris. What was your concern there?
No, I gave mine as well. So you're doing good. You're doing fine. To be fair, it's like 1:30 in the morning somewhere. So we're all very tired. I would say the one other thing that I was going to bring up is it kind of felt like, and I think we should probably just talk about the quarterbacks in the next segment or so, but like the lack of trust there, it kind of felt like there was a little bit of lack of trust there, right? Like if the offense was so simplified, I thought, over when Milroe came in, and that, that's to be easy to understand, right? It's a rookie quarterback. You want to give him a chance for success, but like, I did not get the feeling watching even that final drive that the Seahawks are like, oh, we really trust this guy to sling it when we absolutely need him.
Yeah, and to be fair, there's a lot of things that go into that, right? You could be just not wanting to show those plays, right? Because it's preseason. Teams can look at the film and see this is what they do in this situation, right? So they bring on I get it. There's different quarterbacks you play. You have different plays for different quarterbacks. It's just the way it is. But, you're just trying to hide as much as possible. I get how much the scout teams go into looking into every single play that teams run. I agree with you with Jalen Milroe. Let's actually just get into it now. I think it's a kind of a good transition here. Let's first do Drew Lock because I want to hear what you guys think about him, because I think there's a little bit of a different opinion with him. There's a lot of people that think he executed pretty dang well, but if you look at the points, it wasn't that much, and it was really just the running game that was working for him. So he was executing the offense well, and then his defense it was kind of a good a balanced football approach, or does he need to bring more to the table, especially against a lot of his time on the field today was against second, third stringers. So Turbo, I'll start with you this time. What did you think of Drew Lock's performance?
I thought it was fine. Drew Lock is a very safe player. He plays the game safe. He doesn't want to really take chances, but there were times that he went through his progression, got off the first receiver, started to the right side of the field, came left, hit his target. Like he can play quarterback, and he plays it safe. And so what I mean by that is that, like, I don't know if there's a lot of playmaking, in his game.
Sure.
And there's not a lot of playmaking in Joe Flacco's game, and he might do just fine, this season, right? Some guys are just pocket guys, but we just didn't see the playmaking, tonight, and he probably didn't have to because the run game was working so well. So I thought he did a nice job. There was nothing that wowed you, but I don't think he's a wow type of player either.
Yeah.
And that's okay,
Sure.
but
especially backup, right?
100%. And I think that he gives you what you want overall in terms of what you're looking at for a backup quarterback.
Yeah, I almost had more to say about Drew Lock's performance when comparing it to Jalen Milroe's. And I just saw a much cleaner operation of the offense with Drew Lock. And again, that's understandable. One's a rookie. One's been here specifically as well. So I know it's a different, offensive staff and everything, but it's still, there's a comfort factor with Drew Lock. Rob, what did you think of Drew Lock's performance?
I thought it was a little bit up and down. I mean, I like the touchdown to Torrey Horton. I thought they kind of threaded the needle in that throw. I love the slipperiness that was Torrey Horton going through 3 defenders to get himself into the end zone. I thought was a terrific play by him. As excited as I was for Torrey Horton on that particular play, I thought he could have helped out Drew Lock a little bit on the interception. Yeah. To me, it was kind of a classic Drew Lock, feeling a little bit comfortable in the pocket, not really stepping into the throw, just kind of slinging it. And kind of hung the ball up there, and it was a fairly easy interception for the defender. But again, I think the rookie wide receiver could have helped him out a little bit. Get an offensive pass interference if you have to, but don't give up an interception. To abruptly end what had been a very promising drive. And so to Turbo's point, I think that Drew Lock is a safe quarterback. I think that he is a quality backup. I would have loved to have seen Sam Darnold on the field. I would have loved to have seen Mike McDonald say, okay, Pete Carroll, you're going to start your guy, Geno Smith, and we're going to match you there. This is the guy that we are replacing Geno Smith with. And we feel so confident in our investment in Sam Darnold that we want to, make the fans out there happy with what this guy can do. And the fact that they didn't put him on display to me does raise some questions about how confident are they. I mean, I understand you want to have these guys in bubble wrap, and I understand all of that, but damn it, play football. This isn't playing hopscotch. I mean, I want to see guys. I'd rather see players as terrible as it sounds, I'd rather see players get hurt playing the game than get hurt because they're not really prepared once the regular season starts.
I think that's a completely fair take. And I actually kind of agree with you. When they didn't put Sam Darnold, it was like, we really don't want him to look kind of bad against Geno Smith to make us look bad right off the rip. We're just going to avoid that conversation altogether and put our number 2 in just to kind of steer clear of any sort of speculation that we made a mistake. So, Chris, what do you think of Drew Lock's performance after all that?
So one thing I wanted to ask Rob especially about was, does his arm slot look lower than it was in the past? Like, I don't remember it being that much 3/4. Is it different than it looked?
I think that he does that a little bit of, going back to his time at Missouri, but maybe a little bit lower than it has. He's almost got like a J.P. Crawford shortstop kind of slips it around. And that can be maddening at times because there's very few quarterbacks I've seen, Chris, that can consistently be accurate that way. I want a guy that can drop his arm, but not live and die with his arm that low. You're basically making yourself short. That was one of the things I used to always love about Russell Wilson. While he was 5'10", he still threw the ball up high that made himself effectively taller. Drew Lock and some of these other quarterbacks make themselves shorter because of that way.
Yeah, it was just curious because I remembered it not being a full over the top motion, but it looked almost, to go baseball terms, low 3/4 there. So that was interesting to see. Outside of the interception, I thought he played well. And I think, Rob, you do make a good point there that you got to hit the X button if you are Torrey Horton there and just tackle dude. Like, you got to make a play for your quarterback to help him out there. But that doesn't mean it was a good throw, right? Like, he was very late on that progression. And, it's the type of thing where I feel confident-ish if Drew Lock is on the field for me, right? Like, I know we're going to avoid the Nathan Peterman disaster, but I don't feel like he's going to be the guy who is going to lead a comeback, right? I don't feel confident in that type of player. It's fine. it's serviceable. It is the type of thing that allows you to have a Milroe be development in that development status because you have that Drew Lock safety valve. But at the same time, I don't think that this is a guy who is ever going to develop into a starting quarterback.
Yeah, I like that take. It just screams backup quarterback to me, and it's a guy that you trust who knows his role. Where if he needs to come in via injury, he can run the offense effectively. He's not going to wow anybody with any abilities, but just having a good quality backup is good to have there. Let's transition to the guy who played the other half of the game, and that's Jalen Milroe. Right after this break, we'll break down the Seahawks rookie's performance. One of the most anticipated single player's performance in recent memory for the Seattle Seahawks during the preseason. We'll get to that right after the break. Summer sports are in full swing, and whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting.
You're already following the action. Why not make it a little more thrilling? With FanDuel, you can get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach. You can use it to track your favorite matchups. It's easy to use. It's fast to pay out. And whether you're placing a same-game parlay or watching a bet right into the ninth inning, FanDuel makes it feel like I am part of the action.
New to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started. Welcome back to the Seahawks Squad Show. Anderson Hirst, Chris Crawford, Rob Rang, and Robert Turbo Turbin, the Super Bowl 48 champion, is with us today. We are breaking down the Seahawks preseason tie to the Las Vegas Raiders, 23-23, it turns out. Lots of good performances, some, little areas of concern. I just am curious what you guys think of Jalen Milroe, because I think a lot of Seahawks fans, if you're going to ask them, what are you looking forward to the most going into Thursday night's game, it was, how is the rookie quarterback going to play? It's really the first time the Seahawks have had something like that in a long, long time, especially with that, major of a position, obviously. So Turbo, what do you think of Jalen Milroe in the second half?
I thought he was fine. I mean, obviously the operation wasn't as smooth as Drew Lock. We talking about getting in and out of huddle and things of that nature. But yeah, he looked like a rookie out there. We saw a little bit of playmaking. I thought we maybe expected more, escapability tonight. Only a sample size, in my opinion, was there. But it was his first game, getting the jitters out. I thought he was fine. I think overall it was a positive performance for Jalen Milroe. The only thing that I think is a little discouraging is just you can tell that there is some time to go for him. He's not ready now. And the intangibles coming out of the draft told you something different than that. But that's okay. This is the NFL is a different game. But I think he's definitely on the right track.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think, he's in a situation where he doesn't have to be ready right now, I think is the most encouraging part about it. Rob Rang, what about you? What'd you see from him?
Yeah, to Turbo's point as well, I think that there were definitely some encouraging signs. I think we saw the athletic ability. I obviously you would love to have seen him just go down and win the football game. Perhaps making an incredible throw or showing off that straight line speed and just wowing us all. And I am probably as guilty as anybody of hyping up this young man just because he is a dynamic talent. I've been watching the Seahawks. I mean, I was born in 1976, the same year that this franchise came about. And so I've seen every quarterback. I know I'm an old guy now.
No, I just meant look at how that lines up. It's like it's meant to be with the Seahawks Squad Show here.
And so I've seen every quarterback that they've ever had. They've had some dynamic athletes, from Jim Zorn to Seneca Wallace to Russell Wilson. They've had some guys that can really scoot. But at the same time, nobody can run quite like Jalen Milroe. So I've been super excited about what he's able to provide the Seahawks. But again, to Turbo's point, I just don't think that we saw evidence that he is ready to realistically compete for a starting job right now. I think this is a nice stepping stone, but I would have loved to have seen him either run on that short fourth down play at the end or complete the ball. And of course, he decided to throw the ball, and it was more accurate passes. So that was a little disappointing to me. But still, the scout in me just is frothing at the mouth with this kid's upside. Yeah. I just am so excited about what he brings, but at the same time, again, it's kind of like when you see a preview for a movie, you're all excited, then you go watch it, and it's like, oh, it was good, but it wasn't amazing.
Yeah, sure.
That's, I think, the way that I would characterize Jalen Milroe's debut for the Seahawks.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to describe it. It's like, okay, now the sequel hopefully is better. We'll see. But yeah, and on that 4th and 1, I'm glad you brought that up because it seemed like he almost knew he could easily get the first down if he had just run for it, but he wanted to kind of, okay, I'm going to prove that I can make that throw. And it's the preseason. Like if it's an NFL regular season game, I'm running for the first down. I'm making the play that I need to, but I want to prove to the 12s, it's my first game in front of the home crowd that I can make that throw. And like, I don't hate it, but I also I just want to see you make the play. Chris Crawford, what do you think of Jalen Milroe?
Yeah, I would agree with everything everyone said so far. The big thing for me was I didn't see any of the footwork disasters that the people talked about, like at the Senior Bowl or Michigan, right? Yeah. Like there was no issues like that. That one throw that probably should have been intercepted wasn't my favorite. And obviously we talk about with the 4th down that, you want him to make that play. Sure. There's probably somebody already telling him, just run next time, man. Just take off. We appreciate that you're trying to make that play downfield, but take advantage of your given abilities and do that. What really impressed me is you see the point guard ability of Jalen Milroe, right? You see that ability to handle the football. Like when they were down close to the end zone and that read option where he pulls that football out, that's a perfect read. That is a perfect read. And then you see once he gets outside, best of luck to you tackling that dude in the open field. He's just a dynamic playmaker. The passing needs work, and it would have been nice to see a little bit more assertiveness, I would say, on that final drive, something that's a little bit more taking a little, if you're willing to take the chances on 4th and 1, let's take those chances on. And that sack wasn't a great sack to take either, maybe a little bit of a breakdown on the offensive line, but not a great sack to take. But you see the upside. See the upside, but you also see why this is not a quarterback controversy right now.
Yeah, and I just think everyone kind of, for better or for worse, compares it to the Russell Wilson situation, right? Also a 3rd round pick, a guy that wasn't expected to come in and start, just wows everyone in camp, wows everyone in the preseason, and wins the job outright week 1. So anyone who has those expectations for Jalen Milroe, it's not going to happen. It's not.
I meant to bring this up real quick. I'm sorry to interrupt, Anders.
Yeah.
For every Russell Wilson, there's a lot of Malik Willises. There's a lot of Matt Corrals. There's a lot of Cody Kesslers that are 3rd round picks that, you hope can develop into starting quarterbacks, but don't get a chance to play. It is not an insult to a guy who was taken in the 3rd round that he needs more time to develop. We hit lightning once, right? We got the ultimate lottery ticket win with Russell Wilson. It's okay that Jalen Milroe is not Russell Wilson right now.
Yes.
The one thing I will say too, just to kind of follow that in terms of the quarterback conversation, like we've talked about Jalen Milroe, we see where he's at. Drew Lock, we all kind of feel similarly about where he's at. I'll tell you what, if Sam Darnold is only a little bit better than what we saw from Drew Lock, I don't know if that's good enough.
Oh, yeah.
I agree.
I don't know if that's good enough.
100%.
He's got to play like a Brock Purdy, level type player, in order for the Seahawks to really be the type of team that we think they can be this year.
So just throwing numbers out, and I know it's easy to do, and sometimes it's hard to do. Does that mean you got to have to be like a top dozen quarterback? Something along the line, somewhere in that range. Turbo?
Top half of the league.
Okay, top half
of the league.
To me, it's simple. He has to outperform Geno Smith this season. You have to prove that you made the right decision to move on.
Yeah.
Like, and I know you're paying him less, so like value probably you are going to get more for your buck. And I get it's a cap sport, but at the end of the day, it's a lot of your wins and losses have to do with what you do at the quarterback position. And if you prove that Sam Darnold was the right decision, then I think that's a win for this year. And that could mean Geno Smith kind of falling off a little bit. That could mean Drew Lock Sam Darnold stepping up, proving that what he did last year wasn't a fluke. But yeah, that's kind of the biggest indicator for me, because I still think Geno Smith's a decent quarterback. We'll see what ends up happening in Vegas with Pete Carroll, but yeah, that's kind of a big indicator for me. All right, let's. I want to talk about the run game when we come back, because that I think that was the biggest positive, at least that I saw from today's game. I know we have a guy that's perfect to talk about it in Turbo with us today. So I want to hear what he thinks about George Kalani, because that dude impressed me today. We'll do that on the other side of the break when we come back. Welcome back to the Seahawks Squad Show. Anderson Hirst, Rob Rang, Robert Turbo Turbin, and Chris Crawford is with me. I'm going to just dive right into it here. The Seahawks, a tie 23-23 in their first preseason game of 2025 against the Las Vegas Raiders, coming to town at Lumen Field. I think one of the big positives from today was what you saw from the running game, especially early on in the game, where a lot of first and second teamers, I would just put a mix of both of those on both sides of the ball, were playing. George Kalani specifically looked great. I think the offensive line looked great. It's good to see Robbie Utes get mixed in there. But Turbo, what did you see from the run game? What gave that so much success today?
It was consistent.
Yeah.
You love to see that. The offensive line were moving guys off the line of scrimmage. I think Rob mentioned that earlier in the show in terms of what he thought impressed him the most tonight from the Seahawks. And this is what you're going to see. You're going to see that outside zone scheme. The offensive line are going to get guys running. They're going to be moving guys off the line of scrimmage. And, the running backs did a nice job really being patient, finding the crease, putting that foot down and hitting it. No second guessing. They were confident, and they ran the ball with a lot of conviction tonight. I would have to watch the tape to really sort of start to break down the scheme and, the double teams and releasing up to the second level. But overall, they went into the game knowing they could run the football. That's what it felt like watching. Yeah. Like when I watched the game tonight, it was like, oh, they know they can run the football. And you could tell by how convicted the running backs were, the fullbacks, the offensive line, how they were blocking. I mean, everybody was just working in unison together tonight. It was really impressive. This is what we expected with Coach Kubiak coming in, and right away we see the impact.
Yeah, Chris, what stood out to you with the run game today?
I was really impressed. Like Kalani for sure. I was really impressed with Jacardia, right? Like I thought there were some excellent runs there. In particular, that run on the touchdown, that cutback, that was really impressive. Like made it look kind of like a fairly difficult play, make look a little easy. And of course you have to give a ton of credit to the offensive line too, because there was just some holes that we just haven't seen from the Seattle Seahawks very often, be it preseason, be it whatever. It was nice to see, but there was a assertiveness with the running backs that I really like to see. Like they weren't just hitting the hole. Nobody was just running outside. It wasn't a peewee football game where the running back just tries to go around the edge, right? There's none of that, just trying to be the more athletic dude. They were well set up and they were assertive. They took that hole that they were given and they made the most of it. Damian Martinez's line isn't particularly impressive, but I thought he looked fine. The 5-yard run was a very solid run. They've got some talent back there. They've got some talent in the backfield. I'm more excited about this Seahawk run game than I've been in a very long time.
Rob, what's the bigger difference that you saw today? Is it the scheming? Is it just the commitment to the run game, or is it the actual athleticism along the offensive line that helped the run game look a little bit different than it has in years past?
I think it's a little bit of all three of the factors you just mentioned, Anders. I think definitely the scheme, and I just think that the experience of the coaching staff behind that. I saw more adjustments throughout this game than I saw maybe in an entire regular season game all of last year. Wow. And so that to me is, again, I think that the coaches that were here before are going to be just fine, in the future. I have no grudges against them or anything. I just think that the experience of these coaches kind of speak for themselves. To Chris's point before about Jacardia Wright touchdown, I mean, that was supposed to go to the left. And then so kudos to Jacardia Wright for having the vision and being able to plant his foot in the ground, like Turbo mentioned, and then just being able to kind of scoot his way to the right, and to make a play that some running backs, I think, would have just tried to run up the backside of their left guard and center, and they might have got, caught in the backfield there. But Jacardia Wright recognized that, scooted off to the right, and made it a very simple kind of a run where he got in. George Halani is his runs. I mean, I think it was Turbo who mentioned before, Robbie Oots and some of those blocks that he provided. The tight ends were blocking very well. One of the 20-yard touchdown ones, I can't remember if it was a touchdown that was 23 yards or the earlier one for 20 yards. Jake Bobo got a beautiful block downfield. Yes. And then that's one of the things that I remember of the old wide zone kind of blocking systems with the Kyle Shanahans and the Mike Shanahans before him, that their receivers blocked downfield. And that was always one of the most frustrating things to me. You have this big, talented wide receiver in DK Metcalf, who was as physical as any receiver.
And liked to block.
Yeah, and he liked to block. And it's like, and they still struggle to move the line of scrimmage or downfield in that regard. And so to me, I think it was their intent, the conviction, I think was the word that Turbo used before. I think that it is a testament to just the talent. Halani is a faster guy, and you saw his burst. It was well blocked, but he also, put on the jets and was able to kind of scoot there for that touchdown. And then I also just think that, again, the offensive line is blocking better. And I just love the fact it felt to me like in this game that the Seahawks were more committed to running the football than they were necessarily even to winning the game. And to that point, I mean, when it was halftime, I looked at the statistics, and Seattle had a 3-1. I think it was 75 yards rushing to 23 yards rushing for the Raiders. That's the way that Mike McDonald and Clint Kubiak want to run their football team.
Yeah. I think you could easily tell that there was an intent to do so. And one small concern, I know, Chris, you mentioned that Damian Martinez looked good in the few plays that he did play, but Turbo, he didn't get a ton of time. Is that less concerning because that means he's like, they feel good about what they've seen from him so far? Or was that more concerning because you saw what you needed to see from a Halani or a Wright, so they wanted to see more of them?
I don't think it's a concern at all. I think it was just, you got to take into game flow. You got to take that into consideration. And, there's other players that they want to see. There's other guys at wide receiver and tight end and quarterback. And so there's certain plays that they want to run with certain guys from a personnel standpoint. I don't think it's anything against Damian Martinez that he wasn't out there a whole lot. I just think it just had to do with the game flow and sort of the game plan. From a coaching standpoint.
All right, sounds good. For our last couple minutes here, I want to talk about the defense because we've talked almost entirely offense today.
Are you talking about Pick City?
Yeah, exactly. Right. A lot of plays being made on both sides of the ball for both teams, to be honest. And I want to get your guys' thoughts on how the defense looked. I think most people were looking forward to seeing the offense because those were where the big changes were coming into this season. You're still going to have Mike McDonald coach the defense. You still have Adam Dirty, as your defensive coordinator, and you have a lot of the same personnel. So I think most people were looking at the offensive side of the ball. But Chris Crawford, was there anything defensively that stood out to you that you want to mention?
I thought Nehemiah Pritchett played a really good football game, and I have to I'll own up to it. If I'm taking my Torrey Horton victory lap, I thought that Nehemiah Pritchett was not a great draft pick in the 5th round. I was like, why is the teammate going around later? Whoops. Because one of them is a lot better football player than the other, with all due respect to DJ James. I just like his physicality, and I think his instincts are just getting better and better. I think he's made a ton of improvement. Josh Jobe had a nice game too with the interception. There were a couple times where he got a little bit get off me by some of the bigger wide receivers. That's my
got picked on a little bit.
That is always my concern with Jobe, is just because he doesn't have that elite size.
Yeah,
that guy's a football player. So both of those guys, I thought the secondary played a really nice game. Real quick, Nick Emenwari doesn't make a ton of plays, but you see the physicality there too, right? You see what he's going to do in the middle of that defense.
Yeah, Rob, what about you? What stood out to you defensive side of the ball?
Yeah, it's like kind of criticized before, just the lack of finish. I would like to see more sacks.
Yeah.
Again, I think that you have a huge advantage here when you're playing at home. You're going up against a fairly inexperienced couple of quarterbacks, including a rookie that was actually the guy that won the game for them down the stretch. To get one sack, I thought was a little disappointing, especially since Mike McDonald was calling out some blitzes. I mean, there was some creative, fun stuff that he was throwing out there. Yeah. So I thought that would result in more sacks. At the same time, it did result in a couple of interceptions, to your guys' points before. The one by Nehemiah Pritchett, I thought that was a terrific play by Pritchett. I also thought that it was the kind of the culmination, again, of just the pressure that they put on Aiden O'Connell to kind of force him into that throw. And the same thing with Josh Jobe. I mean, that was almost like he was, put his hand up like he was going to down a punt or something. But so it's a really easy one. But still, again, I thought that those were strong plays by Seattle's third and fourth corner. Remember, you didn't see Tariq Woolen or Devin Witherspoon out there. So just imagine how many more plays would be out there if Seattle's top two corners are on the field.
Yep, completely agree. Turbo, what stood out to you defensively?
Made a lot of plays defensively. I feel like in years past, even in the preseason, it was like almost. He almost got the interception. He almost forced the fumble. He almost got the fumble recovery. Tonight, it was like, man, once the DBs got their hands on the football, man, they made the play, you know, and I thought that was really awesome to see tonight. It's I just think it's a highlight to the depth that they're developing on the defensive side of the football.
No doubt.
They also gave up a lot of plays, especially in the second half. And Chris hit it on the nail on the head when he talked about the linebackers and the front seven, and they were able to do some things. They did a nice job against Ashton Genty.
Yeah.
After that, there were some concerns there, within that front seven. And so, I guess it's sometimes it's common to see that in the third and fourth quarters of a preseason game. So a lot of pros in terms of playmaking, but a lot of plays given up as well from a depth standpoint.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, Anderson.
No,
I think you gotta jump in there just for a moment and give some kudos to Jalen Gaines. I mean, that wound up basically being a game-saving field goal block there at the end of the game.
Oh, yeah.
So, to Turbo's point about making plays, I mean, I've been kind of bemoaning the lack of finish. I mean, Jalen Gaines did do that. And so to me, it's always encouraging when you see players that are fighting just for their NFL lives, so to speak, to make those type of plays, not just a Nehemiah Pritchett or Josh Jobe. I mean, their jobs are secure. Yeah. But for Jalen Gaines to make a play like that, some of the interior defensive linemen make some splashy tackles for loss to take away the game-winning opportunity that the Raiders were creating for themselves. The Seahawks did in some ways kind of finish the game in a strong way.
Yeah. It's a good point. And this is overreaction city here. We only have 60 minutes of football to react to, right? So that's what we're gonna do. We're at the Seahawks Squad Show. Anderson Hirst, Robert Turbin, Super Bowl 48 champion. I got Chris Crawford. I got Rob Rang with me. Really appreciate you guys hanging out with us today. I know it's a little bit of a late one, but we'll be with you once again early next week as we kind of look forward into game number 2 against the Kansas City Chiefs. Look out for more Locked On Seahawks content. Corbin will have his stuff coming up post-game. He was at the game today, so that's why he's not on the show today. But I think overall, lots of positives, lots of negatives, and it evens out to a tie as the Seahawks tie 23-23 against the Las Vegas Raiders and the return of Pete Carroll, Geno Smith, and Jamal Adams, who, by the way, made a couple plays today. So it was, I don't know, like kind of give or take. I have some feelings about Jamal Adams' time as a Seahawk, but I'm sure as a lot of other Seahawk fans do. But it was good to kind of see him still be that guy that's kind of making plays there on an NFL field. So really appreciate you guys hanging out with us. We'll talk to you guys early next week. Go Seahawks. Have a good one. Thanks for tuning in.